Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Anubis Hades bringing you a Star Wars Jedi Survivor video on best settings for PlayStation 5. So we're going to start off here in the accessibility section of the options settings here. So control scheme, I just left it at modified. I didn't change anything. The field of view I changed from default to wider. Auto switch target on enemy death, I put for visible enemies only. Auto lock target in combat off. Automatically succeed for the button mash options. Now, the toggle hold pull, I like to hold the, instead of just toggling it, hitting it once and it happens, I like to hold it because that way I can let go and it stops. Navigation assist, that just basically lets you know where you're going or where you need to go. So if you turn that on, and go into the map here, you can see navigation assist. It'll tell you what ways to go towards your main objective. So you can turn that on if you choose. I didn't. You can also turn on an audio ping, so when you get near it, it'll ping and give you towards where you're going. The camera flow lock I left at 60% for following Cal. The arachnophobia safe mode just modifies creatures to makes them look less reminiscent of an arachnid. That's for people, I guess, who are scared of spiders or any kind of creepy crawlies. Human dismemberment I left on because, well, who doesn't like cutting off stormtroopers' arms and legs and stuff, Game volume and ambient volume I have at 100%. I left the mono turned off. For slow mode, basically it auto activates when you can turn it on, so it auto activates in combat. So I'm going to turn that on here. We're going to come in here. Which doesn't really seem to work, but I guess if you turn on slow mode, like I said, it doesn't really seem to do too much, so I would leave those turned off. Because, as I said, I don't really seem to notice too much of a difference. Shortcut controls, I have that set to modify. Not entirely sure what it does. I think it makes it easier for scrolling through. Audio ping. So for controller, I left the controls the way their base is at. You can modify these to the way you want them to. Under controls, I have the vibration to 100 with trigger effects active. I turned off I disabled the UI input hold. Also left the controller sensitivity X and Y at at 5. Um, and left the flight controls, the Y-axis and the X-axis, where on their default settings, along with the invert Y and X-axis as well. That way, down is not up and up is not down. For gameplay, dialogue, line skipping, I have turned off. I have, well, that's combat. We already covered those. Auto lock on target turned off, but mash automatically succeed. Force interaction hints default. Unless you want extra hints, then, set it to extra or turn it off completely, but I left mine at default. We covered slow mode. Tutorials enabled. You can put for new game only, turn them off, or turn them on. I have mine set to off. And then the arachnophobia safe mode and the human dismemberment. Now for visuals, I have performance mode turned on. I have field of view set to wider. Brightness I have set to default. You can change that if you feel like it, but I felt that the default brightness was actually pretty decent. I turned motion blur, film grain, and chromatic aberration off. I have camera shake set to 100 and ambient camera sway set to 100% as well. And I have the hide HUD turned off because, I like to keep an eye on my health bar. For audio, game volume, dialogue, effects, and music, I have set to 100 and controller speaker to 100. You can change those as well. Sometimes, I'd like to turn the music off. I do have headphones, an actual headset, a wireless headset that I use, so I have the audio output set to that. Dynamic range I have set to, set that to studio preference, because it was at default. Audio language and text language set to English, but if you're from, you have France, Italian, Dutch, Spanish, Chinese. You have different languages, so those will probably be automatically changed depending on where in the world you live. Extras, just a user agreement, and usage sharing just basically allows EA to collect data and improve their products and services, update their software, dynamically serve content, provide product support, communication with you, and personalize your experience with EA, to limit collection of data from your device to that necessary to operate this game, disable device usage, data sharing. So those are the settings. For me, most of them are all, I didn't really change too many of them. Other than the visuals, performance mode turned on. So with performance mode turned off, because it always asks if you want to, when you first start the game, do you want, the very first time you play it, do you want to have performance mode turned on or off? Now, as you can see, the graphics have changed a little bit with those settings. So, If you go into visual, turn performance mode off, motion blur, film grain, and chromatic aberration all off. It's got more of a fluidity to it. Also, the frame rate goes faster, so it seems to take less time to access things. Oh, so you can set your field of view to widest, which is pretty decent, but I prefer just wider. So as for PlayStation 5, as I said, accessibility. I let you can change, like, say, colorblind mode. If you turn it off, you can modify the colors of everything so that you can see them a little better and change the colors on them through the whole game, but I don't really have a need for that. You can turn the camera shake off if you choose to, but I chose not to. Let's drop the HUD scale down and see how that is. So that really just makes your HUD super small. You know, if you're going to sit real close to your TV or to a monitoring screen, okay, that's pretty decent because you're closer to it. That's just really big, and that's if you're, sitting super far away from your TV. But
let's stop here. Let's move.
so I hope these settings help. Like I said, for the most part, I didn't really change too many of them. I turned the auto target off, made sure that was off. The automatically succeed button mash options on. Auto switch enemy on death. You can turn that off or always. I have it set to visible enemies only. Slow mode didn't really seem to do too much, but for the most part, it's visuals. Like I said. It's not bad with performance mode turned off, but if you turn on performance mode and turn off the motion, blur, film grain, and chromatic aberration, the graphics seem to be a little better. So I hope these settings help. You could adapt them to PC, Xbox. These same settings would probably work on the Xbox series consoles, the newer gens. PC, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think that, they would still work with the performance mode, but also depending on your graphics card and your GPU, you probably wouldn't have to turn performance mode on to get that 60 frames per second. Because when you turn performance mode off, it limits your frame rate to 30 frames per second, but when you turn it on, it's 60 frames per second. So I hope these help.